Today, another 1990s Marvel video, 1994, and another surprising #1 on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hey comic book community, this is Jim from Bronzeville Comics. We're talking about our 1,000 subscriber giveaway. This channel has just passed the 1,000 subscriber threshold. I already got my email to start getting monetized from YouTube. That's pretty exciting. So, in honor, this January is 1,000 subscriber month on the channel. On January 31st, we're going to do a 1,000 subscriber giveaway, and there are going to be 3 prizes. 3 prize winners, actually, with multiple prizes for each winner. And it's just been updated what I'm giving away. Let's take a look at it. Third prize is Peacemaker 4. I don't know about you, I'm really enjoying the HBO Max series. Batman 475, the first appearance of Renee Montoya. And MARC SPECTOR Moon Knight, number 25, the first team-up of Moon Knight and Ghost Rider. Second prize, Black Knight number 2, the Dane Whitman miniseries. We've seen him on Eternals that just came on Disney+. Another Batman book, 457, first appearance of Tim Drake in his Robin costume. And the sensational She-Hulk, number 39. That Disney+ series is coming later this year. And that you'll get this classic cover from John Byrne if you're the second prize winner. The first prize, Darkhold number 1. Seeing reference to the Darkhold in WandaVision and potentially in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Batman 442, first appearance of Tim Drake in the classic Robin costume, this wonderful George Perez cover. Spider-Man 2099, number 1, the first full appearance of Miguel O'Hara, who we saw will be in the next Into the Spider-Verse film, animated film, along with Miles Morales. And thanks to Streetside Anthony for his gift to the channel and his contribution of this 9.8 of Batman number 92, CGC 9.8. That's, with the other 3 books, is going to go to the first prize winner. I'm totally humbled by Anthony's generosity, and I thank him once again. He's just such an asset to the comic book community, and his love for the community really means everything to the people who know him. And again, I'd like to thank him on behalf of the channel and on behalf of whoever the grand prize winner is on our 1,000 subscriber giveaway. In order to qualify, here's what you need to do. You're going to need to comment on a video that premiered in January. So any of the videos that premiered between January 2nd and January 30th. On January 31st, you have to be a subscriber as well. On January 31st, I'm going to pick the video from January that has the fewest comments, and we're going to randomly select the 3 winners from that video. So comment up, engage with the channel, and be eligible to win one of our prizes. Hey there, comic book community. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. Please comment, like, subscribe, do all that great stuff. We'd appreciate it on the channel. Also, follow me on Instagram at Bronzeville_comics. We're coming up to 1,000 followers on Instagram, so we're going to be doing a giveaway there as well. Let's get into this list. 1994, the comic boom was over, and we were kind of in the bust era in the mid-90s. And there were some interesting things, and I think #1 is going to be a little bit interesting. So, number 10 on the list, with a $148 average sale and a CGC 9.8. Just a couple of sales over the last several months, $160 sale in January and $135 in August, and that is NIGHTWATCH #1, this mini-series for the character that had premiered in the Spider-Man books. The book goes for, again, an average of $148 in the CGC 9.8 and $5 raw. Number 9 on the list is MARC SPECTOR Moon Knight, number 60, the final issue of the series, and another classic Stephen Platt cover. I did find out, I did collect the entire series of MARC SPECTOR Moon Knight, so I do have this book. Goes for an average of $149 in the CGC 9.8, about $15 to $20 raw. And with all of the Moon Knight excitement after the trailer dropped, the series is going to be dropping on Disney Plus at the end of March. These books are heating up. I just saw, I think it was a 55 that went on a Whatnot auction for raw for about $116. So the Stephen Platt covers are flying. They're red hot. This particular book just recently sold in a CGC 9.8 for $200. There have been other sales in recent months for $135 in November, $176 in October. So I think that 149 might be a little soft. It's 149 with a bullet, let's say, as it's headed up. We move to number 8 on the list, and that's Amazing Spider-Man 392. This is a cover buy, and it's an homage cover buy. It's an homage to the classic cover from Amazing Spider-Man number 50. This book sells for an average of $185 in a CGC 9.8. The recent sales, $220 sale in November, $150 sale in September. Again, Spider-Man books were heating up as we headed towards the end of the year in the release of the No Way Home film. Number 7 on the list is Venom, The Enemy Within, number 1. With this glow-in-the-dark cover, another one of these series of Venom mini-series that Marvel was producing. The first being Lethal Protector, and then there were several. They had probably about 3 mini-series a year involving Venom at this time. There was just 4-issue mini-series after 4-issue mini-series, it seemed. This one had a glow-in-the-dark cover, and it sells for about an average of $200 in a CGC 9.8. There was a $200 sale in December. The high sale, back at the height of the market, $345 in June. Since the last Venom, Venom's going to be back in some form. Tom Hardy, I'm sure there will be another Venom movie. The movies have been doing well enough at the box office that I think we're going to see him back again. Number 6 on the list, Beavis and Butthead number 1, which sells for an average of $224 in a CGC 9.8. You could probably get it under $10 raw. The last 9.8 sale was $156 in October, with a high sale of $325 in August. Now, there have been rumors over the last year, really, that Paramount is looking to kind of reboot the series. I'm not sure if they're going to do live action, animated, or whatever. But Beavis and Butthead, we don't want to mispronounce that, were certainly a significant part of popular culture in the mid-90s. I never really watched it too much other than to just get a pulse on what it was. But that was that Mike Judge? I believe it was Mike Judge who created Beavis and Butthead. Number 5 on the list, another final issue, and this is G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero number 155. After approximately a 13-year run, G.I. Joe came to an end, and similar to Transformers, the kids who grew up watching the cartoons, buying the toys, and buying the comic book had kind of grown out of it. And there were collectors, you know, kids who grew with the comic books, but the more casual collectors who weren't really as into comic books or more into the cartoon and the toys and whatnot, they left the series, the sales dropped, and it was finally canceled here. This particular issue sells for an average of $305 in a CGC 9.8, with raw sales, according to Cover Price, averaging about $150. Now, the two sales from the last year were both in March of 2021, $500 and $975. However, let's take note of this. The G.I. Joe properties cooled down significantly when the Snake Eyes movie came out in the summer and nobody noticed. It didn't do well. It didn't invigorate the comic book market. And it leaves some questions as to how that property is going to be used going forward. There are a lot of plans for TV series, other movies. The movies haven't really hit as well as I'm sure the producers would want and the parent company would want, and that leaves the prospect of what to do with the TV shows very much up in the air. Let's move on to number 4. This is another interesting one. This caught me off guard. It's Iron Man 304, which is the first appearance of the Hulkbuster armor. Average CGC sales of $345. Now, there's only been one 9.8 sale in the last year, and that was $345 in May. And I kept it on the list because now the previous high sale prior to that was $345 in May, was $175 in September of 2018. But there were 3 sales over $100 in a 9.6. And if we use for this era of comic books kind of a 2-to-1 ratio for 9.6 to 9.8, $200 sales. So this probably should be a couple notches lower on the list, really. It's probably more close to a $200 book in a 9.8. But still a little bit surprising. We saw the Hulkbuster armor in Avengers Infinity War. I don't know if we're going to see it again. And I don't know if it's really something that is going to excite the comic book market that much. Number 3 on the list is a very popular key, and that's Wolverine 88, this first battle between Werewolf and Deadpool, which we saw in the Wolverine Origins movie, which Ryan Reynolds would all want us to forget about. That has an average sale of $397 in a CGC 9.8, about a $40 book raw. Now, earlier this month, a copy sold for $815 in a 9.8. That's very much an outlier. Other sales this month, $404, $400, $395. The high sale, very much at the end of the peak in August, $999. Going to number 2 on the list, and this is Web of Spider-Man 118, the first time that Ben Parker becomes the Scarlet Spider. Ben Parker was or is it Ben Reilly? Was he Ben Parker and then Ben Reilly? Anyway, he's a clone of Peter Parker, and he is now the character that is the main Spider-Man in the comic books currently. This book sells for an average in a CGC of $500. There was a $590 sale in January, which beat the previous record of $570 in July, probably about a $50 book raw. Interestingly, my buddy Joe from 360 Comics, we were both at the show in Wayne, New Jersey recently, and I missed it because I hadn't done this list yet. He came across the book in a dollar bin. Granted, the cover was detached, but still, it was in a dollar bin. And now we're going to go to number 1 on the list. And this was a book I wasn't even really aware of. A hugely popular character with lots of room to grow. And it's Blade the Vampire Hunter number 1, which has an average sale of $512 in a CGC 9.8 and approaching $100 for a raw. January sales have been, we've seen $495 and $475. The high sale was as recently as November of $665. Mahershala Ali has been cast as Blade. There's an announced movie for Blade. And, spoiler warning, we heard Mahershala Ali as Blade in a post-credit sequence for the Eternals. His first appearance in Tomb of Dracula number 10 is an enormous book and really untouchable. So this, which comes about 20 years later, his first solo title, this caught me a little bit unaware. I wasn't really aware of this run, and I did collect, you know, the Midnight Suns and the Ghost Rider and some of the horror books in the 90s, but I missed this one somehow. And that's number 1 for the year. So let's talk about the honorable mentions. And sometimes these are fun books because they're easier to find than some of the top 10. I mean, some of the top 10, you know, are books that are pretty well known. That Wolverine 88 is a pretty well-known key. So let's just run through. I'm grouping them all together. The last handful of issues of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. Those have sold, kind of one-off sales. For over $100 in CGC 9.8. and they're probably north of $20 in a high-grade raw. If you can find that book, any of those books, I'm talking 148 to 154, you know, for under $10, that would be a really good buy. The number 150 had a 9.8 sale in September of $700. The previous record in a 9.8 from September of 2017, or from 2017, was $80. Still, I think those books are pretty large. Another book, as it neared its end of its run, Akira, based on the Japanese manga, from, was that the Epic line? Anyway, issue 34 had one 9.8 sale back in March of $348. It didn't have any other 9.8 sales during the year. That's why it didn't make the top 10 list. A 9.9 sold in June of 2020 for $1,448. This was Akira 34. The issue did run another 4 issues into 1995. Web of Spider-Man number 119, the follow-up to 118 with the first Scarlet Spider. This is a first appearance of Kane, another clone of Peter Parker. That did have a 9.8 sale in August of $250 and a 9.6 sale of $110 in June. So that could put it in a top 10 list potentially. It was real close. Another follow-up book, Iron Man 305, Iron Man in the Hulkbuster armor versus the Hulk. That did have a $225 sale in November, which beat the previous record from a year earlier of $115. Spider-Man 2099 Annual number 1 did have a sale in December for $180 in a CGC 9.8. Hulk 2099 number 1, which is not his first appearance, did have a recent 9.8 sale in January of $163. Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat, the first Black Cat solo series, did have a sale in January of $150, the previous high from April of 2020 of $93. So I think that could be a $100 book in a 9.8. Transformers Generation 2, number 11, the penultimate issue of the series, which had a low print run, that did have a 9.8 sale back in June of 2020 of $145. Incredible Hulk versus Venom, another Venom book on the list, which was a one-shot foil cover, it's the 90s, and it was only obtained through UNICEF in a mail-in charity drive. So you had to kind of mail in for this book, give some money to UNICEF, and you were able to get this book. There was another book, I don't remember the exact title, it was another book, the same situation, and since it was a mail away, who knows the condition it generally came in. The last 9.8 was $140 in December, the high of $270 back in January of 2019, and I guess this could be a book if we ever see Venom and Hulk on the screen together. Speaking of Hulk, Incredible Hulk 418. This is a book I've picked up a lot of. It's the first appearance of Talos the Untamed, and it's a terrible first appearance. There's also a cameo appearance of Death from the DC universe, for the Sandman shows, but it's just one of those things that they were putting various characters into the crowd at the wedding of Rick Jones. It has one of the worst covers I've ever seen. This is like Green Lantern 1 puppet clown bad. But Talos, played by Ben Mendelsohn, we saw him in Captain Marvel, we saw him in the post-credits sequence of Spider-Man Far From Home, and we're gonna see him again in Secret Invasion. So this is a book a lot of people have been specking on, including myself, because you find it everywhere. It's a pretty cheap book. You can get it easily under $10 raw. And it does sell for about $134 in a CGC 9.8. Now, there are a couple of different editions. There's a standard cover, and then there's a wedding invitation cover, which is an embossed die-cut cover, where it has a gatefold that folds in on each side, and then there's a little heart with Rick Jones and whoever it was that he married. And then Hulk, you know, crying a tear in the corner. Anyway, moving on. Deadpool number 1 is second limited series, an average sale of $129 in a CGC 9.8. There was a high of $255 sale in September. Deadpool's going to be back. Another Venom miniseries, Venom the Mace number 1. had a $125 sale in January. The previous high was $60 in April. Venom Separation Anxiety, #1, had a 9.8 sale in December for $95. A $460 sale in June, which was a record over the previous high of $80 in February. Somebody went crazy because it was June, buying this in a 9.8. It's probably just under $100 in 9.8. Venom, The Enemy Within, #2, which is 2 sales in May, one for $40, one for $225. All other sales in the $40, $50 range. It was May, another crazy sale, but it does have a Venom versus Morbius cover, so that's a little bit interesting. Spider-Man, Web of Doom, #1, had 1 sale in July for $125. Sensational She-Hulk, #1, has an average sale of $125 in CGC 9.8. It's the final issue of the series, and it's an homage to issue #1. And we know She-Hulk, Disney Plus, coming towards the end of the year. War Machine, #1, another guy who's going to be on Disney Plus. We're going to see an Armor Wars series, and this is his first solo series. There was a $120 sale in December to 9.8, a high of $135 in October, and 2 recent 9.6 sales of $100. So this is, I think, a pretty solid $100 plus book in a 9.8. Spider-Man Adventures, #1, had a sale last year in January of $110. The previous sale of $100 in December of 2020. This was a book that was based on the animated series of the time. Just a couple other quick books. Punisher Meets Archie, #1, had a sale back in May of 2018 of $100. I see this book all the time. I'm not really sure it's going to hold that value of $100. Another book, just because I like it a lot, it's got Alex Ross covers throughout the miniseries. It's Marvel's #1. It had an $84 sale in November, and in July, sales of $121 and $135. It's always a nice book to pick up, but I think it was printed pretty heavily. On the other hand, a book that was not printed heavily, but hasn't had CGC sales, but averages a raw sale of $35, is Dark Hawk Annual #3. Very low print run, hard to find book, and a lot of people are speculating on Dark Hawk coming to the MCU. It's possible. Any character, any notoriety, or any character that's essentially obscure is a potential for the MCU. Who knows about Dark Hawk? Gotta write that time. So that's my Marvel list for 1994. What do you guys think? Let me know what books you have, what books you want, what books you had and gave away because you were a child at the time, and then your comics disappeared sometime in adulthood. Leave those in the comments below. In the meantime, DC 1994 is here. Marvel 1993 is here. Take a look at those videos. Like, comment, subscribe. And this is Jim saying, until next time, enjoy your comics.